So the federal election is on Monday. The leading candidates for prime minister have very different plans for AI investment. Let's look at that with Adam Froman. He's the founder and CEO of Delvinia. Adam, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Marla.
So the Liberals want to increase spending in AI, $2.5 billion over 2 years in sort of infrastructure. The Conservatives want to cut back, saying they have business initiatives that they think will benefit the tech sector, but nothing specific towards AI. Let's break each one down a little bit more. The way that the Liberals are doing it, they want to put it into a fund to flow to tech, same way they've been doing it for the past few years, I guess. What do you think of this?
Well, I think what we're seeing is a real dilemma between the two choices. And I think we've seen what the Liberals have already done in investing in AI, investing in tech over many years. And as a Canadian, battle-worn entrepreneur, we saw a lot of the money go to foreign investments, to the large foreign multinationals. And we lost our IP because of it, because the government supported them. And then we've also witnessed what the Conservatives can do in terms of cutting back, which at a time that we need supporting the companies that are actually scaling and they're doing quite well and they're holding on, and they really need to deal with what's going on with the tariff issues and being able to, the protectionist issues in the US. We need to support those companies, and will the Conservatives be behind them and not create more barriers for them to grow? So the decision's really going to be down to, does somebody believe that the Liberals will change what they used to do? Or will the Conservatives realize that while they need and they want to cut back, are they still going to support this scaling tech sector that we have to support?
Okay, so Liberals have been doing it by putting money into the Venture Capital Catalyst Initiative. I'm wondering, because you said our intellectual property ends up in foreign hands, can you explain how that's working or why it's not working?
So the way the government has done it in the past, they would create a fund, and then many companies, and they would offer companies to come and access that fund for putting partnerships together and do large initiatives, or they partner with the universities and invest with the universities. What would happen is these large companies would do it. They would have the intellectual property developed, but then they would transfer it to their particularly US head offices, and it would just leave Canada when it was funded by our taxpayer dollars. That's a problem. The venture fund is a whole other challenge in Canada because we also need financial reform for the technology sector. The banks are asset-backed lenders that don't necessarily know how to invest in intellectual property or support the companies that on their balance sheets, they don't have any assets. It's all intellectual property. So what happens is they go after the venture community to be those balance sheets. And that is often US-based venture capital companies. And when they are helping the banks to give the balance sheet to lend to the Canadian companies, you see what's going to happen. Those companies will eventually be sold off to probably foreign groups. And once again, the intellectual property of those companies then leaves Canada.
So how do you protect that property in Canada if, as you say, a lot of banks don't recognize what's there? Is it a matter of speaking to the banks so that they understand? Is it a matter of partnering with the government to create some way to involve the banks? What's the best way forward?
Well, it's both. And you have to have the government involved because this is policy. This is creating mechanisms that will allow companies that can demonstrate that they're successful, that they're growing, that they're making money. How do they get the support directly to be able to work with the senior lenders? They could go after and get double-digit interest rates to borrow money, but they should be able to borrow money at much less expensive interest rates. And then you have the bankings, and that's a banking reform. In Canada, we know that banking, the reason the banks are so successful, they're very conservative. But this is a time of crisis, and we need to have the government basically provide support to the banks to hedge their ability to lend to these companies that don't have the assets on their balance sheets.
How are we doing on a flip side of this, which is foreign talent, either bringing talent in or retaining talent? Or do we have enough talent in the country that we can make this happen?
Well, I think COVID did hurt and helped us. I think what COVID did was COVID forced everyone to be able to have to work remotely for a period of time. And that created an opportunity to access global resources. And many people are working remote now. So you can actually pull together a quality team. bringing them into Canada was always a challenge to find the higher paid talent, which is pretty common and synonymous with the technology sector. Our personal tax structure is very high. So there was a lot of disincentives for a lot of people to come and live in Canada. So I think the real opportunity now is for those companies that are actually scaling, and we're a resilient group. We no matter what, we will find a way to make things work for us, whatever it will be. But they need to be supported in a different way where if they hire international talent or foreign talent and it's remote, you have some sort of support that you can actually scale that. And if you can create incentives for people to come to Canada and work in Canada, that's a bonus. But I don't think bringing people to Canada is the requirement anymore to build a really strong global technology company.
I was going to say, on the other side of that, do we have enough talent here that we can build out with the talent we have, or does it naturally require some foreign talent?
It naturally requires foreign talent. And many of the talent that we're developing here in Canada, especially in the areas of machine learning and AI, they quickly get scooped up and they quickly get offered incredible salaries and a different lifestyle in the US. But the instability in the US politically right now is causing those people not to want to leave. So it becomes an interesting time that we're facing. It's not going to end anytime soon, but I think the scaling technology CEOs and the entrepreneurs that are in this space will find a way to figure it out. If there's ways that both our government and the stakeholders like the banks can reduce barriers for us to grow, it just makes us move that much faster and really help the Canadian economy.
We do have to leave the conversation there. I'm out of time with you. Adam Froman is the founder, CEO of Delvinia. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks.